people of the intranets.
You going
What's
live here too?
good?
Start a live.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's up, everybody on the YouTubes and the Facebooks?
wait to Tenable started live.
Oh, dang, they're flooding in. Lagrima, don't cry.
Request to join. Okay, here we go.
Um, there you go.
You see me?
Yeah, I just. What's up, y'all? Thank you for coming in. We're gonna get this started. Turn this down.
All right, here we go.
Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. And we're good over here.
All right.
Making sure real quick. Thank you for joining in, y'all. We appreciate everyone for coming and hanging out with us.
It's a little
Make sure this
echo.
is public. Did you turn your
No, for you. I'm down all the way. I think for you.
how about now? I don't hear any echo.
Yeah, it's
Do
fine.
you?
It's fine. It's fine. Okay, yeah, it's better. Here we go.
Okay. All right. Boom, boom. Let's do this. Mesa Miavelia, what is good with you?
What is
Edwin
good with
Scott.
your life, yo?
Everything. Yes. Life is good. Hey,
Life is good.
there's no point in complaining. It's not going to do anything. So,
No. And then you're getting, yeah, I've been on this tip. And then you get better at complaining. Do you wanna be a master complainer?
uh,
No, no, no.
yeah, it
Don't
doesn't
do
mean
that.
that, yeah, everything is great all the time. But complaining definitely doesn't help. Well, I mean, I
No.
don't know. For me, I don't look
Some
at that.
some release is important, but
I
then
think it's good
okay,
to vent sometimes,
vent. What's
but
the
just
difference between venting and complaining?
I don't know. There are different words. There,
One starts with a V
yeah,
and
they're
one.
definitely different words. I think complaining. That's a good question. What's the difference between venting and complaining? That's a great question in capoeira, because
Yeah.
you know, what's the difference between an excuse and just
A
kind of
reason.
calling out the reality of a situation? I think. Okay, I mean, yeah, this is actually a great question.
Good question.
I think just constantly blaming others for your problems. Not to say that other people don't have an effect on your life, but uh, you know, that's. I don't think that's a very. Now I'm thinking about like the worst possible scenarios. Obviously, yes, there are times when other people can cause problems in your life for sure.
Hmm.
But just constantly dwelling on how other people are negatively affecting you instead of proactively doing something about it. Um, I think that could be the difference between just complaining or venting.
I think venting is. I think venting has a definite stop point. Okay,
Yes.
I'm done venting. Now I'm gonna act. And complaining, I think is has. I think it's seamlessly. It does. It's like, oh, this is just how my life. You don't see an end to it. You don't understand that it's like, okay, that's yeah, okay, like a appetizer. That's the appetizer. Let's move on. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
complaining is that maybe I don't know.
I don't know. We're both like treading lightly on this because we're like, ooh, what about this situation? We're like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean, it depends. Anyways, now that we started off with that beautiful segment, we are here today to talk about our process in
mm,
learning music, teaching music, capoeira music, probably, I would assume specifically, or whether, I mean, in your case, also, I would say Afro Brazilian drumming. I mean,
and
I'm
you
sure people
create
would be
music
interested in.
too.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Or other types of music, and
Yeah.
any challenges we faced and how that's helped us grow.
Mm.
Do you have a place where you want to start? I know you started
Um.
playing music when you were a child. You know, I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit, how that's affected you in capoeira.
I started playing music as a kid, but it was very different music.
Hmm.
It was classical violin. It was like you have
Oh,
sheets of music
hold on, I'm sorry
and
to interrupt you. Just
oh,
Z.
venting is
Venting
about.
is an internal release. Complaining is seeking validation rather than a solution.
Ooh, I like that
Boom. Thank you, Z. All right,
process.
continue.
Yes. So I think, yeah, I started with violin and classical music. And in a way, I was just thinking about that. I've been apparently on stage ever since I was very, very young. We had recitals so I've been on stage for very long time. Nevertheless, it's this Moroccan Persian girl doing classical music. I was very much the outsider. Um, and it was very rigid. So I think I learned performing and I've learned the discipline that comes from working on something. Because classical music, it's like the gymnastics of music. It's like 4 hours a day. You go to the conservatory, you work. Whoever plays violin, you seek the signs of how it's on your body. Like people that play violin for a very long time, they have like a little circle here, a dart.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I came from that. So in a way, it gave me a certain comfort and an ear. So a certain
Hmm.
comfort on stage. Funny enough, I always hated doing solos, and I always liked being in an ensemble. And I think that's why capoeira kind of like fit so well for me. And then, like, once I moved away from violin, and percussion was kind of like alongside, and once I moved into capoeira and all that other stuff, and now recently I've been doing keyboard. It's been very different because it's improvisational. It's like not with notes, not with music sheets, none of that. So I think I got from that era, the confidence of being on stage and understanding what it means to perform, so to speak,
Hmm.
maybe. But capoeira gave me the im- improv improvising and the like looking into kind of like in the moment. I remember when I first got to the States and like seriously within the first year, and we had, what was it called, that open mic thing?
Nomo.
Nomo.
Shout
What
out
was
to
it called?
Ish.
Nomo. You remember?
I it I can't. It has a significance that I don't remember
I
right
can't
now.
remember.
In a different language, yeah.
Wow.
The power of
Yeah.
the spoken word or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, I remember I remember I listened to some people just like flow like on the mic, just like somebody doing a beat and it blew my mind. I was like,
Hmm.
how can people do that so fast? I was just, and I think capoeira is like that with the songs, like
Yeah.
you have to kind of ideally, right, build up to a point where you could, at first you kind of cut and paste from other places, and then
Yeah.
you're able to have some kind of understanding with the language where you could kind of respond to what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's what I brought into capoeira, the strength and challenges. It was hard for me to improvise, but I came with a musicality that I worked on with classical music.
Yeah.
Well, what
Music wasn't
was,
just foreign for you.
yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
wasn't. What
Yeah.
about you? What were you coming in to this with?
I mean, I've always loved music growing up. I mean, I think when I was like 7 or something, my goal in life, besides being a ninja, was to be an R&B singer. Um,
Ninja
and I
is
would just,
admirable.
can you imagine an R&B ninja? That
I
would be dope.
remember when you were at U the R&B ninja. I remember when
R&B
you were at
ninjas.
UCLA. Do you remember that? You were now you would be arrested. You would go. You remember? You guys would put your shirts like
Oh yeah,
ninjas,
ninjas.
and you would
It
go
was
on the streets of Westwood and do some like tumbling, blah blah blah, and some kicks. Oh my! Can you imagine after 9/11, you guys doing something like that?
no, that was after 9/11. I
No, it
wasn't in college
wasn't.
before. I wasn't at UCLA before that.
I just feel like if you
Uh,
would have done this now, it would
it
have.
was what's the word? It was like street theater. The street theater is how I'm going to refer to it right now. It was the beginning
I've
of my
never seen
stunt
it.
career. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, so I mean, when I was in elementary school, I remember my parents saw that I liked singing, so they put me in like the chorus. You know, I
Oh, in
remember doing
church,
that. No, and like my school had one. Yeah, actually,
this
Ethiopian
joy
Orthodox.
that
Yeah,
the
very far
world
from
can
Ethiopia.
bring. It's not
Ethiopian
that's it.
Orthodox Church. It's not.
They don't do what is that thing? The how's the I'm making a fool
Pesquista.
of
Well,
myself.
actually, no. Actually, that was not bad. That wasn't bad. People might have thought you were doing the Harlem Shake, but that was our
Some
traditional dances.
correlation, no, some
Yeah, yeah.
correlation.
I'm sure it goes back, but I mean, I did that for a short time, and then when I was in kind of like junior high, I played trumpet for a couple years,
Hmm.
and but I stopped because I got a D in after. Okay, so I was playing trumpet, and then they needed trumpet players in like the jazz band, but I couldn't really read music that well. I just had a good memory. I could hear the piece,
Oh,
and
I
then kind
see.
of memorize my part a little bit, and then he gave me a D, and I was like, okay, I can't get a D in trumpet in music. Um, but then it was just, then it was just capoeira, and thankfully, because Messi Amen had us doing the shows with him, that just like I really feel like that gave us
Hmm.
a giant push
Oh yeah.
to improve because it wasn't like we had he sat down and taught us lessons. It was like on
Mm.
stage and he'd be like, you just do this, boom boom boom. Or I remember him telling Shingu, I will not up, I will not f up. Like that was his way of memorizing. I mean, really smart ways of dealing with each person individually.
Yeah.
um, and I think we had a huge motivation, you know,
Yeah.
aside from us liking music
Yeah.
already and being super interested, we had a huge motivation because we were performing multiple times a week and we're always at the academy. Also, when we were younger, we didn't have a lot of advanced students to run the bateria. So we had to step up. And I noticed that's a big thing in like groups that are smaller versus groups that have a bunch of teachers. When it comes time to
Yeah.
have a hada, um,
You could kind of
you know,
hide.
yeah, if you don't have to play the berimbau, if you don't have to sing, it's easy for you to just play capoeira. And I remember even having that kind of conversation at some point with some of the advanced students and teachers when we were at when the academy grew to a certain point, was like, hey, we got to let the new students play music. I mean, I know we want to and we love to do it at this point, but that has developed over time, and we have to give people the chance to just like feel the pressure and make mistakes. And
Some people,
I
I
mean,
think at a certain point it was too much pressure. I know there's
yeah,
some
for
people
sure.
like, oh, I don't think I could do it. Like, because there was
No,
such
no, yeah.
stress involved with it, you know?
I mean, it is a big deal to mess up a vibe in front of everybody, in front of all your peers.
Yeah, but I think we made it like if I look back, I think we made it a certain kind of I think when we were like higher chords at our school, we got to a point where it was like I think yeah, that's like if I no regrets, right? But if I look back, I think we made it it's just there was so much building on it that it wasn't an environment. Let me say that. It didn't
Oh,
feel
for
like
sure.
we created an environment where people are comfortable making mistakes with music. You know what I'm
Yeah, but
saying?
I think I agree, and I think that's also kind of the nature, or at least it was
Yeah,
for
it
a long.
was.
And it's not about it's not complaining or pointing. It's we're just talking about what it is, and just in general, you know, some schools, not all schools will have a music class. Some do, and then but I just remember during batizados picking up masters and talking to them and stuff like that, and I would talk to them about, oh, how did they learn music, and a lot of people will say it was just like a, you know, a casual thing, and it's
Yeah,
like the people who excelled in it are the ones who pushed that forward. It wasn't
that's
like
true.
the master was always like, okay, now we're having a music class. Even music class for us, maybe now it's different, but when we were younger, it wasn't Mestre teaching the music class. It was one of the advanced students for a little while, and then eventually we just took over, you know, and
Uh,
that that made a huge difference, you know, teaching music, whether we
yeah.
were like really ready for it or not. Uh, but having to think about what you're going to teach and having to break it down, and of course it's going to be kind of rough in the beginning, or you're going to be like not considerate. I still feel like I scarred Eugene from to this day, from like way back, because he'll talk about how I used to teach music class,
Oh man, I
and
made a
you
few
know,
people cry too.
yeah, and it's not like it's also
Not
because we
intentionally. I didn't like
no
yell at
no
anybody, but I think the stress that like the buildup was
yeah.
so high.
Yeah, and then you think, because it's such a serious thing for us, and we take it so seriously, and we're just like, it's not like you're putting anyone. I don't think I'd ever. I don't know. We can ask Eugene, but I don't think I ever like put anyone down. You know,
Yeah,
it's just that I want people to be serious about it, and then later on, definitely, my style of teaching changed completely to where I was just like,
yeah,
my goal and one of my goals in teaching a music class is to make the environment so comfortable
yeah,
that you feel like you can laugh at yourself if you make a
yeah.
mistake. If you can't make a mistake, there it's and I think this is with anything, you know, like I'm you know, I like to do like bachata and kizomba, other types of dance, and like the moment you start feeling like every movement that you do is judged, you're just gonna be so stiff, you
Yeah,
know.
I really agree. I think there's two levels to it. One is I think this is the part of capoeira that is really humbling. You know, I feel like um, that's the part that is really interesting in capoeira because people come in, like let's say, especially now, people come in like in the adult class, they're already bosses, they're parents, or they're
Hmm.
like, you know, they're accomplished to some degree in their personal life. And then they come in and somebody wants them to sing, which is so vulnerable. Like imagine
Yeah.
you come in for like, I want to play basketball. And be like, okay, you could play basketball, but you have to know how to sing the national anthem on the mic before the game starts in front of all these people. They go, what? I signed up for basketball. What do you want me to do? No, no, no. It's
Yeah.
part of the culture. You have to do it. You have to know. I don't even speak English. I don't care. You have. So I think part of it is like expectation. Part of it is humbling yourself to be like, I need to, I'm gonna fail and I'm gonna get better, right? We talked about what are you practicing, right? Practicing complaining, or I'm gonna get better at being vulnerable in front of people and not caring. Because the more I practice it, the better I am in trying other stuff and failing and
Hmm.
getting better at it. Because it's a practice. I do it once, I do it twice, I do it 30 times, I'm gonna get better at it. You know, that lesson of like I could get better at anything as long as I incrementally do it all the time. So I
Yeah.
think a part of it is definitely that, like people were having a reaction to that element, and that is natural. I feel like that's going to come up. It's going to come up when you're a beginner, it's going to come up when you are intermediate, it's going to come up when you're advanced and somebody takes you down in front of it, even in the movement part. It's going to come up throughout. If you're doing capoeira right, what's right, right? But if
Yeah.
you're on your journey, I think of capoeira authentically, that should happen in your life right now, even if you're a master. I think. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's always how you look at it. You can say you suck, or you can say you're a beginner, you know, and like,
Mm,
or you're new, and if there was a comment. I mean, I make these comedy videos, and I mean, a while ago, I've been posting music videos on YouTube for a long time, and I posted a drill that I would do. I mean, it inspired one of the videos, the natural talent video,
Mm.
you know, and it's like, okay, this is a drill that I literally just like practicing the buzz, like just to get it clean. And one of the comments was like, there's no way that that's not natural talent. I could never do that. I've been doing capoeira for 13 years. And you look, this is not a put down to anyone. This is just, we're just talking about this. And it's like, I don't know this person. And just because you do capoeira for 13 years doesn't mean that you're going to be good on berimbau. Doesn't mean that you're going to be good at drumming. Doesn't mean, it's like, well, have you been practicing berimbau? I don't think we were good in the beginning. Like, I don't even think I got serious about music. I felt like I was okay for the first few years, because you look at your mastery and you're like, this person is a musical genius. He's supposed to be that. He's my master. He's my teacher. So it's fine if I'm not that good. And then I remember going to Brazil and seeing like a 12-year-old kid just completely string the berimbau by himself, uh, get in the roda, just completely kill it. And I was so inspired. I was like 12 years old. I mean,
Mm.
God, like it is, Berimbau was like taller than him. And so that was a huge motivation for me
Yeah.
to improve. And this is the same thing as if you're going to practice a bunch of AUs or armadas or anything. Like you just got to put in time, and then you can say like, well, I mean, it also depends on your self talk. Like if saying,
That's very true.
So, and at
I
any level,
yeah.
yeah,
I
at any
agree.
level.
I remember you threw it in my face when when we were gonna do a hoda, and I was just stringing the gunga, the softer bidibas, and the viola's like, oh, you could go do that. I thought it was slick, and you're like, in GCAP, there's a woman and she does all of Miss and what I says beating bows. I was like, okay, fucking do it, man. So
We
I
weren't
think
always
that,
so gentle with each other.
yeah. I think our banter though like made us thrive. I think especially in our
Yeah, yeah,
twenties.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
for
but
sure.
but I was just telling somebody else that she's like a friend of mine that had she was bringing her water bottle, her reusable water bottle. She's like, here, you see, I brought it. She looked at me, I brought it. I was like, I thought, she's like, because, and then she told her friend, last time she gave me a hard time. And I told her, I was like, you see, a little bit of shame is a good thing. Just a little bit. A
Yeah,
little
everybody deals
bit.
with it differently, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you have
I
to
mean,
choose, right? Who?
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
yeah, it reminded me of something that we talked about a while ago, where we talked about music being a language, right? You were talking about like our music class, right? Music class that we didn't really have a music class. Um, yeah, I think like back in the day, that's how it was. And you talk to maybe older generation of Mestis, there was never, it was like a language. You just around it, and then
Hmm.
at first you have like, you make mistakes. First you kind of like stumbling, and eventually you speaking the language because you're
Yeah.
around it. And then your
Hmm.
accents get better, and then all that stuff. And I think once you started teaching, that's another one that I think a lot of teachers could relate, where you are being put in a place where you are expected to know more. And then, right, like I think we could both agree that the best thing and the scariest thing that you could have is a student that is really hungry, because you're like, wow, look at this person, look. But then it puts a, like, I need to come back every week with something to give this person.
Hmm.
And I think that's great. It's a blessing and a curse, because it really puts you on your toes of like asking, because they'll be like, why do we do that? Well, why do, and I think I know that for me, that was a huge tool in progressing. One of the first thing that I was giving me attention was Orisha music. I had like two songs that I knew. Even Badero was laughing. It's like, sing something else on Ijisha. And I just like, that's all I knew. And then people said, like, well, why do you do that? Why do you sing that? And then people are like, oh, now you sing. And it kind of like people expect you to know. They give
Yeah.
you and if you can't deliver, then you start feeling self-conscious. And I think that's the best organic way for you to keep growing. Like there's an expectation of you to grow, and you just like meet that and try to overcome that more and more and more.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I mean, just to kind of go back a little bit was like, but I'm just, I think what I've come to was with music. You know what? One of the questions somebody sent me was, let me read it real quick. Uh, okay. What did you find most helpful for improving your music? Practicing on your own, jamming with others, going to holidays, etc.
Mm.
I've been doing a lot of practice on my own, and while it's been helpful or it's been helping, it's easy to lose inspiration when you're not
Mm-hmm.
always playing in the bateria.
Very true.
Um, I think. I mean, I think that's a great question, and I even sent a. I mean, I sent an email response because um, I think all three of these things are super important. Practicing on your own is going to help you develop the technique that you need to feel confident when you show up to a hoda. You know, if you go to a hoda and you haven't practiced, you're just not going to feel comfortable. Like if I don't know, I mean, if your school has one hoda a week, or even if you have a 15-minute hoda at the end of each class and you have two classes a week, and then you have 10 people there and everybody's splitting some time to play music. It's really like, how much time do you actually get to play the berimbau if you're only playing music in the hoda? If you want to excel, if you want, I think even if you want to have fun, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy yourself, and if you want to be able to express yourself, don't even say like to impress anybody.
Yes.
If you just want to be able to have fun yourself with music, you need to practice.
I
If you know
so
two
agree.
words, how can you speak a language? you know uh, and this is what we did. And then jamming with friends, that's another key thing, I think, is like getting together. And now, I mean, because if you just practice alone, sometimes you don't know if you're off beat, you know or if you're doing something wrong. So you need to create that environment with your friends where you're just having complete fun, even being silly,
Yeah.
like not being so serious all the time. When you go to the hoda, it's going to be more serious because if you make a mistake, you're going to get corrected, and you have more pressure. And then you have to get used to that pressure and going to a hodas, especially different hodas. That's not your home. When you pay attention, you're like, oh, they do things differently here. They play this talkie, or the person on the video. Only the people from this group can play the gunga, or that makes you a more well-rounded capoeirista, because you go to different hodas, and then you can deal with the
Yes.
pressure of leading, even knowing that different schools don't sing the same songs as you. So what are you going to
Mm-hmm.
do? Go to another school and sing only songs that people from your school know? This is all what's going to help you become more and more confident as a capoeirista, and
I
to have
so
fun.
agree.
You know? Yeah.
I agree so much with all you said. I think it brings back a point that I brought from I heard from Mr. Cueca, shout out, that I really liked. For you, he said that about movement, and I really agree that it's true to anything in capoeira, especially movement. It's a three-leg stool. It's like it has to do with it has to do with traveling, right? It has to do with an academy, going to an academy where you have peers that are challenging you, and it has
Hmm.
to do with working on your own. And yeah, I was just the last thing that I posted had to do with like putting on a show. And I like somebody put in this thing exactly about what you said, being expressive. How can you be expressive, with your music if you're not comfortable with it? How can you like, really not just you know, like have this like shock face on and
Get
just
through
get
it.
by. Yeah, just get
Yeah.
through it. Yeah, that doesn't inspire. Why do we don't put? Because we could put like a CD on with amazing artists from all the way from Brazil. We don't do that. Why? Because there's a certain kind of energy that happens live, and it has to do with how you hold it, and what you do with your face, and if you're
Hmm.
feeling it, and if you. And I think that that joy, that
Yeah,
joy
you're sharing
really,
joy.
you sharing joy, and you know, not to sound crunchy granola, but I think that's where it comes into like this love. That is something that you can't teach in a music class. I really
Yeah.
tell people you have to fall in love with music. Find a CD you really love, because like I give this example of like having kids or nephews or whatever. You see a little baby and you make all these faces and you do all this stupid stuff and you take videos and you show your people and you don't care how you look. You're not like, oh, I don't want to, because you love this thing. Like, show
Yeah.
here, look what I did with it. Look, and I think once you really love music, you're on it. You're just like super into it, and you're gonna do it a lot just because you it's gonna be effortless to get better because it's coming from a place of joy. Love is
Yeah.
an immense energy. Love and hate on the other side, right? Love is a huge motivator for you to improve and do all that kind of progress that is going to come up in everything, let alone in music, which is so expressive, you know?
I was at an event in Charlotte earlier this year, and there's a capoeirista from Atlanta uh, who, I mean, he's been training. He's been training capoeira for a little while. Great energy, and he was playing the pan. I couldn't take my eyes off of him when he was playing the pandero because he was having so much fun. It was like it was just so amazing, the energy, and it
It
was
was pretty good.
nothing like crazy variations. His face. I don't know if he was crying or if he was happy, but just like the energy that he was sharing, I was like, I always want him to be on the pandero. And even when he was singing, and he is just
That's awesome.
100% present. Like I
Oh,
think
present.
that's really
Oh,
what it comes. I think
yes.
that's what every okay. That's what the secret of life,
The
though, is just
secret for
present.
freaking everything, man.
Presence.
Yes.
The moment you're not present is because you're thinking about like, oh, I made a mistake, or
Yes.
what are these people thinking? Oh, my Berimbau
Yes.
face looks crazy, or this. All that stuff is gonna kill the vibe. Just be
And
there. Yeah.
yes. And I think it helps you be also in the game present. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah, for sure.
at the beginning, I think in capoeira, up to a certain level, it's such a shock to play capoeira. You are forced to be present because
Yeah.
there's kicks and you're so unused to it. I think at the amount of years that we have in it, it's very easy to travel even when you move because you
Hmm.
it's just well rehearsed. And I think the second you're like, oh, this person, oh, he's so big, oh, there's like my teacher is here, oh, I don't know, my
Yeah.
shoulder. The second that you're there and you just anchor yourself on that music, and you're like, I always tell students just like take your hands off the wheel, like Fight Club, that image.
Hmm.
Like just see what happens. See what happens. Close your eyes and not literally, yeah, but like literally, like I mean, like let go of the wheel and be like, that's something I learned from Sim. You remember him from Bahia?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He was like, you. He was saying it about Angoleros. I think it's true to any capoeiristas. Like for me, I'm for the most part smaller than most people that I play. You know, there's limitation. There's like, are you after injury? Nah, 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 nah. But at a certain point where you're feeling good, I'm gonna. Oh, I'm really afraid of this person. Let's go in. Let's see what
Hmm.
happens. Really listen to the music. Let go of everything, all the expectations, and just like let go of control and see all these years that you've been working on this. What comes out? You
Yeah.
said that too. You're like, oh, I remember who was it? You're like, somebody was really wild. You're like, I was after you. It's like you were like, I'm gonna go in. I just wonder what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I,
But that's like the beauty of just being. I mean, I think Well, one of the reasons why we connect, like we like doing live shows because you don't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. You have
It's
a plan.
exciting. It's
It's exciting.
exciting.
Like it's
I
kind of like jumping
yeah.
out of a plane. You're like, oh, I don't know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
totally. I think you're better in that than me. I think for me, that's the gift. One of the gifts that capoeira gave me is forcing myself to be spontaneous. It is incredibly hard for me. I think from all the years of knowing you, I think you thrive on spontaneity and last minute and like for me, it's just really hard. I plan everything and this skill, oh my God, talking about getting better, it's something. If it wasn't for capoeira, I would not have that at all. At
Yeah, but you
all.
don't have that issue in music at all, and
Yeah.
that's what playing any instrument is. Like you in the beginning, you start learning variations and this and that, but you don't have a plan when you play. It's
Yeah.
like literally note by note, or okay, like you have a talkie that you repeat. Like okay, my bass is Angola, or I dun dudunka, on the drum. But when you're doing, and especially in a place of doing a lot of variations, uh, you shut that off like that,
Yeah.
and that's you being present. You don't have time to think about the variation
Yeah.
because you're just completely in the moment, and that is such a freeing feeling,
Oh
and i
yeah.
think i think basically like a lot of things that we do that take us away from thinking about other things is just what's helping us find presence, whether it's music or
Yes.
capoeira or another sport or meditation or yoga or something. It's like you're like, oh, I didn't think
Or being with a
for
kid or being like,
yeah,
yeah, no, oh, what
yeah,
a great point. I think also like with the stories that we tell ourselves of like here I am, I'm telling you, I'm not very good at being spontaneous. We're like, but in music you are, and what does that do to you? You're like, oh,
yeah,
maybe I should let go of that because here is a huge part of my life where
yeah,
I do that all the time
all the time,
and I didn't
all
even
the
think
time.
about it.
Yeah.
I think a big part of that, and I wonder what you think, is really, it's gonna sound funny, but like I know that a lot of the progress that I've made with drumming and like let's say samba and improvising is like really getting almost bored with it. Playing it so much that you're like, ugh, what else can I do with this? I don't
Hmm.
even care if it's gonna make everything collapse right now. I'm gonna try to do something different to make this
Yeah, yeah,
break this like pattern. And then you come up with something, you're like, oh, this is cool. And it
yeah.
gets you re-excited, falling in love with this thing again. And I think that's also a big part of practicing, like,
I think that's also just you being an artist and a
Mm,
artistic person is like, and I mean, I used to make a joke a long time ago. I was like, yeah, all capoeiristas start getting weird after a little while. Like if you've been doing capoeira for like 20 years, you're like, yeah, I need to find a different way to. I mean, not everybody. I can't speak for everybody,
yeah,
but
yeah,
like some
yeah.
people like the structure and I mean, you can say what I'm doing is weird, or you can say, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're just finding different ways to connect with our art form. And I
Yeah.
think also, like, if you don't make it an extension of yourself, if you're always just kind of like copying somebody
Yes.
forever, uh, and it's challenging because it's something that's not from our culture, and we want to be as respectful as possible. But um, we're human. Like it, otherwise, it's never going to be really a part of you. You know,
Yes.
so it's like, yeah, maybe you need to find some other way of changing this. Doesn't mean that now you're going to make this the traditional samba, but now this is like your own side version of
Mm.
samba mia vella or whatever. Like the innovators always get criticized the most when they're creating
Yeah.
something new, and then when they inspire a whole generation, people are like, yeah, that was it right there.
He
You
was a
know,
genius. No, but
yeah,
you
you
know,
think Messi
yeah.
Bimba? I'm sure he was not. Now everybody prays to him.
Still,
Yeah,
still, there's
yeah,
criticism, even all after
yeah,
these years.
yeah.
I, I,
So
I really think, innovation is a huge responsibility, and I think innovation that rests on experience, I think, is better received.
yeah,
I feel like because I see that sometimes. I meet people, or men and women that are just, they really want to connect. I think they really, I genuinely feel like they really love capoeira and they really love capoeira music. And they're singers. Like you could tell, homeboy have been singing in church, or this lady, like, came to capoeira singing. But I feel like it's such a trap to be like, well, I sing. How come people don't let me sing? I sing, but it feels like there is a certain kind of level, even if you come with a certain experience or something from other places, okay, you want to make it your own, that's fine. Like, let's
Yeah.
say, I, yeah, I feel like there needs to be certain nuances and cultural understandings that happen that, like, make it make sense. Like, I know people that sing really well, and then every time I see them, it's the same three songs. And every time I see them, they're not saying the words really right. And it's fine. It's fine if you're starting and you have that humbleness about you, where you could see that this person is continuously learning. And every time you see
Yeah.
them, they're like, but I feel like it's not enough. I'm saying this very carefully, but I feel like it's not enough to come in with the confidence and the vocal ability, but to miss that part of knowing, like, oh, this song does not make sense right now. You're
Yeah.
making, and I see like events where people are like, the person really knows how to sing, and then they come up with a certain, like, and there's a guest from Brazil or somebody, and they're like singing a song that it's like, I watch it and I could see it on the guest's face. They're like, why are you and I I feel like, the confidence and the vocal ability without that extra piece that comes with its experience, or with, like, studying, with something, it makes it makes it a little bit empty. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're saying. I mean, it's challenging because I think confidence is so hard to build in general in singing for a lot of people who, I would say a lot of people probably come into the art without that experience.
Mm.
I would argue that point. It's not like most people come in with this giant confidence in singing. Because it's just foreign. I mean, just really think about it. Like, aside from capoeira, even for you, who's been doing music since you were a child, where do you go and sing 3 times a week with a group of people?
Mm.
Like, what other part of your life are you doing this? And I mean, maybe in a culture where people go to church, maybe they're going once a week to do that. But like, like in LA, where we have all these multiple cultures coming together, and it's just not common. So I think, I mean, those are also lessons that need to be learned. But I think it's harder to build the confidence. Like, for me, I mean, my teaching styles have changed over the years, where I'm like, if I see somebody who's kind of like crazy or confident or whatever, however you want to define them, I'm kind of like, yes, come and let me kind of mold you
Oh
a
yeah,
little bit.
but they're
Uh,
coming in asking that. Like, I'm talking about, like, maybe
no, but I think that's
events or
also learning.
teachers.
Yeah, but I think that's also like also being humbled and learning humility, and like, I mean, I think if we have to know what we're saying, like, you can't just sing songs. That was another video I'm gonna make soon. It's like singing the wrong song at the wrong time. Like,
Yes, that's what I'm
if
talking about.
yeah, no, I mean, but that's just like, I think I mean, what I would imagine is going to happen is it's going to happen probably in a bad situation, and that somebody's going to tell them, and uh, the embarrassment will stop that person from doing
I,
it again.
I've met a lot of teachers that, not a lot. I've made a
It also
few
depends on the
teachers.
school. It also depends on the school and how, I mean,
I think it depends on the personality. I think what you're referring to is students. I'm not talking about
yeah.
that. I
Oh,
think,
okay.
like, I think students, you're right. I would rather have that and mold it, focus it.
Yeah.
That's great. But I'm saying, like, a lot of times I see people that come in, again, experts, like, let's say, or really confident, like musicians, or somebody that is a drummer outside, or somebody that has been singing for a long time, and then they go into capoeira, and then they feel like, oh, I have a ladder, like the chutes and ladder. I have a ladder to go up here because I already done this. But it's like there's certain nuances that need to have. You have to be open. You have to be coachable. Like not by me,
Yeah,
whatever me. I'm saying somebody get somebody to be like that would come and call you on. It's like, yo, you can't be singing that when you have a
yeah,
guest
for sure.
and
I mean,
you're
that's
playing for the first time. It doesn't make. And I feel like we always, and that's another part of like getting better at anything, but let alone in music. I think you have, we learned that from Sifu Earl, right? You need to have three levels around you. You have to have people more advanced than you. You have to have your peers, and you have people younger than you. And from each of them, you have to learn, right? And you
yeah.
need to have people that are at your level to be like, uh, you know, I made mistakes, and y'all were laughing at me after. It didn't feel great, but I know I'm not gonna make that mistake. You remember, it was
And
at
you
the school.
will, and you will. Like it's
Yeah, but not intention.
history. No,
At least
not
for the
you. I'm
next
just saying.
year.
I'm saying in general. I'm not.
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
too.
yeah.
History repeats itself. Like,
No,
and
for sure.
we forget what it feels like to be at those levels very quickly, and then later on you reflect, or maybe somebody will kind of like call you out. I'm speaking about myself. I'm not speaking about you.
No,
Like,
for
yeah,
all of us,
yeah,
if it doesn't happen somewhere, it happens in another. Like, for
yeah,
me, I
for
think
sure.
at this point, I think for both of us, you could throw a new capoeira song, new, you never heard it in your life, and you could tell where does it need to fall, right?
Yeah, yeah,
More or
for
less, you
sure.
will tell. You will
More or
tell.
less, yeah.
You'll be like you singing it off. You're like you never heard it before. I know you're singing it off. For me, you know what keeps me really humble is the Candomblé stuff. I sing certain things, and with Khalil is senior to, he knows more. There's certain things that I'm like, I just don't, songs that I've known forever, that it's just, I don't know, where does it come in? I always sing it off. I do. And it
Yeah,
doesn't mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have that intuition yet. I just don't.
No, for sure. That I mean, I experienced that with West African drumming when we were playing djembe. Like, for this is another great thing about teaching different uh, people with different abilities in music.
Mm.
Because for me, I mean, I can't really remember. This is like personally having a hard time understanding where to like in capoeira music in
Yeah.
this kind of like time signature in this 4/4. It just, for whatever reason, it just makes sense in my
Mm.
head. And so but when we started doing and I always knew how to, like, okay, even if I fell off, I'd be like, okay, I knew how to self correct. And I see that with some students, they just understand, you
Mm.
know and that's fine. You don't have to teach some people that. And then when we were doing djembe and we were playing the 6/8, like some of the
Yeah.
other 6/8 rhythms, and I'd be like, I have no idea
It's so
where I'm supposed to come in.
complex.
I have no idea. And that was such a great lesson for me in understanding what some people experience in
Oh,
capoeira music. Like, people,
completely
when
humbling.
you come in off, and like, and it also, I don't, also I feel like it made me more compassionate, because I was like, oh, I understand now. Like, I understand what it feels like to be like, no. So even when I was teaching students I was like, okay, this person has a very good technique, but they come in off on variations from time to time. And I think just with practice, it's like, okay, we need to figure out a plan for this person. It's like, okay,
Mm.
if you ever feel like you're off, listen to the pandero, because the dong ding matches with the boom bop, like, so that's always going to be your guide to come back in on
Mm.
time. Or, I remember some newer students would be like, so where do the songs start? Like, every song starts in like a different
Yeah.
place in the music. There's no way to say like, oh, it has to start here. It's like, so some people will get that, and some people are like, okay, well, we need to go over, like, this song starts here.
Yeah.
And the same thing with melodies too. Like, some people have a hard time matching tones, and that was also, learning how to teach somebody that was also a good challenge, and I think helped me to become a better teacher, while also helping me figure out a way to guide them better, instead of just being
Yeah.
like, oh, this person doesn't get it. Like, that's
Yeah,
I
no.
think it's easy to teach somebody who's naturally talented,
Yeah, and we
but
talked about that, the two of
yeah,
us. Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
then also that person might not work as hard as the person who struggles, you know.
Yes, that we
Yeah.
have we have people, and I think you know who I'm talking about, that have been talk about learning from somebody that is younger than you.
Oh
Their
yeah.
dedication and their hard work with music, even though they had challenges, it was immensely inspiring. It just blew my mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
I I was so impressed. I was so impressed for sure.
I I feel like if capoeira teachers or uh, want to relate to their students, because we have all these kind of like words of wisdom, and we always say like, hey, just relax, and the more the sooner you can feel like you're okay with making mistakes in front of people. It's like for us, it's like go do something new where we're a
Oh
beginner,
man,
and then you'll be like, oh
amazing.
wow, I should take my own advice.
Dude, I
Yeah,
was so pandemic, right? People making sourdough and stuff. I decided, I'm even like shaking my head thinking about it. I decided, I don't know if I told you, I decided to make a garden on top of my parking
yeah, yeah,
structure roof. I bought a ladder. I spent, yo, it was like the most expensive tomatoes I've ever eaten. I had 10 tomatoes. Each of them is $35, not including label. It was ridiculous. But I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she's a farmer, and I was like, I spent all this time and rah, 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 complaining, totally complaining.
yeah,
And she was like, dude, the stuff that I say to just because you did it and it didn't succeed doesn't mean you failed. Just have to
yeah,
practice. I'm like, oh, is she telling me to practice right now after I say this to
yeah,
people all the time?
yep.
Yeah, I think in Portuguese they say, uh, what is it? The monkey's ass. No, the monkey doesn't know that his ass is red.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the moral of the story is everything is the same.
yeah.
It's like, all right, y'all, if
Be
you got one
present.
thing from this
Don't complain.
podcast, yeah, so cool that we started off with this complaining versus venting thing and it just
Yes,
completely got
and
tied
being
into all of
present.
it.
No, but it's
Yeah,
fine. It's a
it's
practice.
all the
The more
same.
we
It's all the
practice,
same. Yeah.
the more we listen to it, the more we are better at it. I think this is time for us to get some questions now. If anybody
Yes,
has
yes,
any
yes, yes, for sure.
comments.
There was some I actually there's one here. I really Scott McCary off of Facebook. Thank you. I don't know if you're still listening. Hopefully you are. I really love capoeira music. It is what has led me to follow both of you. Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Oh.
Do you have any capoeira musicians that inspire you both? A few of my favorites
Mm,
besides you both are Tony
mm,
Angola, T'Challa, Capoeira, Mestre Barrão, Mestre Pernalonga, Mestre Ney, Boa Morte, um,
yeah.
uh, uh, Marcus, Contra Mestre Camaleão. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
I
So,
wanted
do
to
you
say
have
some
any?
Camaleon.
Yeah, he said Contra Mestre Camaleão. I don't know who that is from ACDP.
Yeah.
Mestre Camaleão for sure. He's an amazing singer. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when we were younger, we really well, I can't speak, I'll almost speak for you. I really loved GCAP. I I think I got into um obviously Mestre Penalonga, Mestre Ney, incredible
Mm-hmm.
singer. I really love the songs of Mestre Val. I really love
Yeah.
his writing. I love his songs. Um, I and even in the like the other side of the spectrum as far as like groups, we love what's his name? Abadá. Pretinho?
Perninha.
Não. Peninha.
Pretinho also. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love his music. I got really into the René CDs, the old the not René, Mestre São Paulo. I'm blanking. That passed.
Ananias.
Mestre Ananias CDs, the albums, and then all that, Rafael and all of them. I love their music. I really wish the ladies would have turned out a little bit more. I think right now the only person that I really like, Mestre Janja has a CD. I love going to her rodas and hearing her live. I think that was really magical. But there's not a lot of CDs by women, at least not that I was able to kind of connect with.
Yeah. I think especially coming up, I mean, it's like capoeira was so male dominated, especially even before we started. Like
Yeah.
when a lot of these mestres who we were so inspired by were coming up. There weren't.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure there were references, but it wasn't like maybe more just in Brazil. And now you see a lot more. I don't know her name, but there's someone out of São Paulo who's like amazing singer.
Really? I want to hear.
I said you've seen her stuff. Like, I'm not even gonna try because there's like the whole movement down there. She has
Yeah.
braids and I think she has glasses. I think she was just singing in the capoeira tournament, like the Bambas
Oh, wow. I don't remember.
event.
I've never seen that.
You've seen. There's a video that we saw a while ago. It was like I think it's a capoeira competition, and it was like but there was like the women's competition. It was like the
Ah.
bateria was all women, and she's like an amazing. I can't remember her name right now.
Oh, wow. That's
Um,
so cool. You know who else? And she's not really in the Japa's wife.
yes,
She
yes,
is
Muda,
really good. Yeah,
beautiful
really
singer.
good singer. I wish she would get
Yeah,
out more.
yeah,
If
yeah. I
anybody's
mean,
hearing
but
me.
that's remember when we made a CD, we never knew how important that CD was going to be.
Yeah.
Because like, if you think about when you're talking about like even representation right now, like how many women have CDs? I mean, you have a couple, and Carolina,
She's not a
but like,
capoeirista though.
yeah, but what I'm saying is like,
Yeah, there's not.
off the top of my head,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
how
yeah,
many
yeah.
women have CDs? Like even for me, like when we talk about people who really inspired me, I know women personally who are great singers, but like I can't say like so many CDs.
We were
But like,
very lucky to have the
yeah,
resources to make that. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, for me, it's like the same people, like that you said. Like, I mean, GCAP is a classic. Message Joel is like,
Yeah.
rest in peace. Like, I mean, for me, is like one
So
of the most
unique, man.
amazing voices. And for people, there's like that voice of candomblé singing that is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
kind of high pitch,
Nasally.
throaty, nasally
Yeah.
voice, and I don't know, just he's almost like a James Brown, like where it's not even him saying a word. It's just like the sound that comes out, and you feel it in your back, and like I
Yeah.
listen to YouTube videos of him that are like not even great quality, and it's just so
It
amazing.
carries.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. And I've talked about that with this music manager about something unrelated, like regular other music. And he said, and I so agree. He said like the worst thing somebody could tell you as a musician is that, oh, you sound like
Hmm.
Bob Marley. It's like, because it's like you really, I think there's such magic in exactly that. It's like you listen, you hear Master Joel, you're like, Master Joel. You listen to
Yeah.
Panalong, you're like, Panalonga. You can immediately recognize they
Yeah.
have such a sound. And oh my God, what an asset it is to have that signature when you singing to be sounding like, that's your voice. Oh, I
Yeah.
think that's invaluable.
I
It's
mean,
just
our
so
mastery,
precious.
like our own mastery, like has been a huge inspiration musically for both of us.
Yeah.
Like whether it be in singing or drumming or berimbau. I mean, we're so lucky
Yeah.
to have been able to grow up around him,
Yeah.
and like just the people that he's brought, like that has. I feel like
Yeah,
we
it's
have
true.
such uh, power and influence with our students. Like the music that we play in our classes is what we're exposing our students to.
Yeah.
And like I would play our music, or I'd play Mesh Penalonga, and then so when I brought Mesh Penalonga for an event, people were like just so happy to see him. And it was surprising to me at the time that like maybe a lot of other people in the community here didn't really know him that well. But it's just because we like his music. And who else? I had somebody else in my mind. I mean, there's just so many. There's people with CDs, and then there's also like going to Brazil and meeting people. Like, I mean, going and listening to Messi Pelé sing live is like, oh my God. Like, it's one of another type. Like when he does his yay or just his singing, like he's on a few CDs, but so and you remember how when we made a CD, singing on a CD is different than singing live. It's
There's
just a little
nothing
different.
like yeah, it's a whole, I think it's a whole other thing when you hear somebody. And that I think CD has a huge magic. Like
Yeah,
we would never know about any of these people. Like look how much
yeah,
it made us. Like you can
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
Mestre Moraes in your studio. That's
Mhm.
incredible, you know? But having said that, like that is not a replacement to going, and it's yeah, not a replacement to going over there. I think that should kind of give you the motivation to like one day make the pilgrimage to go over
Oh, for
there
sure. For sure.
and see that
I just want to
stuff.
say real quick, sorry, I was like, who was he talking about? He put Marcus Finkel, and I was like,
Oh,
Marcus
Marcus
Finkel,
Finkel.
Marcelo,
Marcelo Finkel. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Marcelo, follow Marcelo. That dude is a super cool, super funny, amazing singer and musician also.
Yeah, and he makes his own like little twist on stuff, which
Hmm.
I like that. I've been listening to some stuff. I really enjoy that too.
Yeah. Uh, should we do one more question?
We started a little
Um,
late. Maybe one last question.
Is there any other questions, y'all? I mean, I know there were some like way back in the chat. Um, Before we finish, any questions, throw them in. Messi Mandela is also one of my favorites. Messi Amin had one of the best albums. Yes, for sure. He has like 3 albums. I don't know if y'all know, but on Messi Amin's first album, he raps, y'all. You want to know where we get all these different ideas from? Our own Mestre is an
Huh.
MC. So boom. Like he opened the door for us, like to even think about
Doing things
that,
differently. Yeah.
doing things differently. And that I think that's how you have to make it your own.
For
Any
sure.
suggestions for ladainhas about women or female orishas in capoeira?
I have one that I made that is like about a woman. It's a whole. Hey, I think you even have it on your channel. You remember we
I think
talked
it's on my
about it.
YouTube channel. Yeah, yeah.
Other than that, I feel like,
And you have the song about Oya.
oh yeah, I have a song
But it's
that's
not a
corrido.
ladainha.
Yeah, it's a corrido. I
Yeah.
really feel like if you should, people should write more, right? We didn't get to talk about that. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
making music.
Yeah,
Yo,
that's yeah.
it's another talent, it's another beast, right? But again, it's a practice. The more you do
Yeah.
it, think about it like that. You have to get the first bad 20 songs. So get going. Create
I
those
mean,
first 20.
one of those might be a gem,
Yeah,
you
that's what
know?
I'm saying. But if you don't start digging, you're never
Yeah.
gonna find anything. Like it's not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
come to you when you're like watching Netflix. You have to go and do that. So I think
Yes, for
it's
sure.
being vulnerable and making that's something that is so cool about that whole trio, like Formiga, Tony Angola. They just make so many songs, and some of those things are really nice. You
Yeah.
know, so props to
It's like
them,
you're playing
man.
the lotto. You're playing the lotto. You just keep on
Yeah.
playing, and eventually,
Something's gonna
some songs
stick.
will hit with other people. And yeah, we really, That's another thing our mestre encouraged us to do was write. We would have days where like
Yeah.
somebody would have to write a ladainha and teach it to everybody. And I mean, we did that for a while, like in the advanced class.
I remember.
Yeah, and I think it was a great exercise. It's just anything you are uh, consistent with, you will improve on.
Yeah.
Let's just there's a couple of questions here. Let's see if we can knock these out. You mentioned Orisha music. When do we sing it in Capoeira?
In capoeira, we don't sing Orisha music. There's not a hard no. I've seen like
Yeah.
Marcelo Finco sent me recently the Ialo. You know that song Ialo
Yeah.
Ialo de. So he did it into a capoeira song where he put it on the Ialo. He didn't do it in the original song. He did like assim da luz no terreiro de Jesus, but he just put like Ialo de. So like that's a song about Oshun that somebody took and made it into capoeira. A lot of people take music from it and put capoeira. There's no hard yes or no's, right? A lot of the songs that we have in capoeira are songs, samba de caboclo. There's also come from Orisha music. So there's no, it's not a hard yes or a hard no, but Orisha music traditionally is for Orisha ceremony. That's where it starts. Now, what you do with it within your lineage, until somebody slaps your wrist or whatever your stuff is, that's your business. But
Yeah.
would you say anything different? I don't know.
No, I agree. You know, I mean, now we have a ton of capoeira music, but before capoeira, there was no capoeira music. It came from Afro-Brazilian folkloric music, samba. There are some songs that, maybe like even they'll sing like some umbanda songs I've heard in some rodas, depending on the school. I think a lot of times people just don't know the root.
Yeah.
A lot of times people just don't know the root. And then, there's even some songs that are just the melodies of Orisha songs, but they changed the words. I remember Mestre Marcos Coreba, it was like, "O me chama, que eu vou. O me chama, I think he had a song, something like that. And it's the song for Oshun. Choro. So it's intertwined in the culture of the music, but like Mia Velia said, there's not like it's very hard to say like these rules are set in stone, but
I feel like they fall on a spectrum. It could be more of a no and more of a yes.
Yes, yeah, I would say that.
It's more of a no.
No,
but then there's some times, where there's an exception, like anything.
Yeah, right? Some people will be like, "Oh, we don't sing that song because it's samba," and it's like, okay, there's a lot of samba songs that are sung in capoeira.
Yeah,
so are you talking about you don't sing any songs from samba in capoeira now, or is it just that song because you don't feel like it's appropriate? Which there are songs that I feel like are not appropriate for a roda, where it's capoeira is so different now. I think people would be like, that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other thing, yeah.
Yes, let's take another one real quick. Can you provide some examples of songs that should not be performed at certain points in a roda?
I think that's for the next podcast because
I think that's for sure can be a whole thing, but like if you can just give a quick example, I think instead of that could be a whole nother conversation for sure.
I think it's so complex. We're gonna go into it because
I'll give you a quick example. Quick example. Okay, if two, it's you. Two mestres are playing. Two older mestres are playing, and you're on the berimbau, and you're just like, "Hola, hola, y quiero ver bate, quiero ver cair." Especially like, let's say two older mestres are playing, or even younger. It's like you're calling for an aggressive game, which is it's inappropriate for a student to be calling for two mestres to have an aggressive game. You're saying like, I want to see somebody get hit. I want to see a takedown. Obviously it's different if like I sing it and they're my friends because
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
mesti or I have a relationship with them. But I'm
or it's
saying
a
if there's
joke, or you know that it's like they
yes,
maybe had some fight before and you're just like joking. Yeah, no, for
yes,
sure.
that's different. But I'm saying like for a student to just go and sing that, I don't think that's appropriate. You know, I
Yeah.
mean that's more of a. I mean, I don't hear it so often now that song, but it's more of a common song.
But there's like yeah, there's like O menino chora, yeah, 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 olha a boca, menino, which is a song. But if you're singing it and you sing like that is also a joke about somebody complaining or being like not really knowing what they're. It feels like certain things are nuanced, certain things that are hard no. Maybe like what you said, there's certain words that are just like certain songs that are just inappropriate because what they say about women, and
yes,
then
for
there's
sure.
like certain songs that people have made inappropriate here, which I feel like, and maybe I'm touching on a touchy subject. Like there's certain songs that says nego that certain Angola groups here. And I talked to Lorenzo. I am not African American.
You're
Shocker,
not.
right? I'm not. I know. However, I'm a woman of color, but I'm not black in this country, so I can't speak to that. Nevertheless, I could speak about capoeira music because I've been doing that for a long time, and from my experience,
Yeah.
saying the word nego, nego, olha o nego, uh, is for you to say you can't say that. It feels like you're putting other issues because the word nego in Portuguese and Brazilian does not mean like the N word over here. It
No,
just
no, for
doesn't.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Because
And
and this comes. So go ahead, go ahead.
no, I'm just and actually, if you are to call somebody black preto over in Brazil, it's way worse than if you are to call somebody nego. Like
I mean, and I don't even know how it's changed now. I'm not saying neg was a bad word, but like even how things, there has have been a lot more uh, pro-black movements in Brazil. And I mean, I'm not Brazilian, so I can't speak to this with. This is something that we should have like, Mr. Chris on to
yeah,
talk
that's
about.
true.
You know, a black woman from Bahia.
Mm,
She's been living in the States for a while, but she's also her dad is a mestre, and
yeah, yeah.
she can really talk to that experience. But this is also has to do with not understanding kind of like the nuance of language,
Yes.
Portuguese, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge that also should be, talked about in capoeira because we don't want to like spread misinformation. Um, because it's a cultural thing, and then we're also dealing with people's history, and then there are a lot of non-black practitioners of capoeira, and you know what I'm saying. It's like this is a sensitivity that we all need
It
to
is.
understand.
It's yeah. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
There's no easy
There's no
answer.
easy. Yeah.
There's no easy answer. But if
I
we
feel
don't talk
like
about it, I think that's
yeah,
worse. You know what I'm saying? I'm not now.
completely.
Like that could be a
I
whole separate
yeah.
thing.
I just feel like Copwood is a way of keeping history alive and
Yes.
having that history spoken by blacks, by whites, by women, by kids is important because it make you say it. Make it so. In 1888, when slavery was abolished in Brazil, they burned all the documents that had to do with slavery. So you speaking o nego na senzala, you speaking about o feitor, all these things, it's talk about it because it
Hmm.
happened. It talk about it happened by your ancestors or it happened to your ancestors, but let's speak about it so we remember it. So we remember that we are celebrating an art form that comes from people that suffered. So it's here and we could joke and play and do all that stuff. For me, that's again, this I can only speak about myself. For me, that's a testimony of the victory of capoeira, of how it is an art activism, like it's activism because here we are celebrating the people, talking, not making that history like all the Portuguese and all the history was people that were against their heads used to be cut off and put on the stairs of church. So you go to church them on Sunday and you see what happens to people that speak about these things. Or we do need. I don't think anybody should not talk about that stuff. You should talk about it. Again, however, I am not black, so I'm saying it with a huge caveat. This is just how I feel like, you know.
Yeah,
So
and I think it just yeah, you are very passionate about that because you
are
were
we?
like pointing
No,
at
because
me
I.
and no. I'm just
I'm just
look.
saying. No, no.
No, no, no. That was good. No, 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 no. I agree. I agree with you for sure. It's just that there are so many songs in capoeira. I know you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know to a good extent what you know. You know, it's not like we're next to each other all the time. We know different things and we
yeah,
learn from different people. So I
yeah. But I have a blind side. You grew up in this country. I didn't, you know. So
yes, but I just think with capoeira music in general, there is a lot of space for confusion. You know, it's not like, okay, right now, if you're speaking specifically about like one word or something, yes, that's one thing. But like capoeira music in general, like if you take, you know, we made this. Uh, like if we have a small group of guys who have a joke with each other and they turn it into a song and it's not appropriate for everybody. It's not appropriate for people outside of this small group of people to sing. That can be problematic when somebody's like, oh, now that it's spreading all over the
yeah,
world,
yeah, yeah.
we're just going to sing these songs that come from. I'm not talking about what the songs that you're talking about. I'm speaking
Yeah,
about like
yeah,
other
yeah.
types of music. So I think that's where it can start to become problematic. It's like if we start taking like inside conversations of certain groups of people, but now the art form has become globalized. It's like, okay, we start need to like learn how to tread lightly with certain songs. But I agree with what you're saying about the types of songs that you're talking about, which this can be a whole other
That's why I
episode.
said it could be its whole other. All
Um,
right, we're over an
I,
hour, and I keep saying 20 minutes. It's never gonna be 20
there's no
minutes.
way
But
it's 20 minutes.
yeah,
Come on.
it's not gonna be 20 minutes.
Yeah. Come on.
Um,
We need that.
yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
This
you.
weekend, there is the Zumbi event at the BBCC, Brazil Cultural Center in
Whoop,
Los Angeles.
whoop.
Mesamen and Nayla Santo.
Mhm.
This third Friday through Sunday, I believe. Rodas, um,
Even Thursday, I think they said
panels. It's going to be a
a
great,
reading
yeah,
of the
of a
Zumbi
Zumbi
play.
play. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you who just joined now that we're finishing the conversation. You have anything you want to add?
But it's gonna be like available for you guys to listen to
Yeah,
this whole thing later. So
yeah.
let's
All
clean the
right, thanks,
house up.
y'all.
Listen. All right,
Peace,
peace.
everyone.